very good evening, or good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on wherever you are watching from in the world. On the bench, I don't even know where to begin. I have the very worst condition, Roberts Rambler. Now this is a Rambler 1, it's not the Rambler 2, but it is the second version of the Roberts Rambler because it has, or it should have, the round buttons on it. This was very kindly, very generously sent to the Cody's bench. The radio itself is absolutely fine, and to check out the work that's been done on the actual electronic side of the radio, please pop along at the end of this video and have a look, if you haven't already seen, the work that was carried out on this by Mr. George Christophe. I'll put a link to his channel in the description, and there'll probably be a card at the end somewhere. But he's done the electrical work on this, and I know what a considerable amount of work has actually been carried out. George has very thoughtfully sent this to me for the cosmetic attention that it needs. I mean, let's be honest, it shouldn't take long, should it? I mean, there's the knobs off the top. There we go. Not even taken those out yet. Here's the handle. Now, bearing in mind, I know that this particular radio, the colour should be what Roberts called Snow White. But take a look at the beauty of the finish on this. Now this will be quite a challenge. The pegs have gone for the insides of the handle, so I'll have to replace those. And there's the back of her. I really should be wearing gloves. I've had a bath this month. I don't want to get dirty again. But yeah, there it is. So, I'll accept the challenge, Mr. Christophe. Thank you very much, George. And over the next, I'll hazard a guess at it will take, in hours, probably a full day, so probably 24 hours. Not all in one fell swoop, but in several sessions to get this something like. So I will be pausing the video from time to time. Well, quite a lot, to be honest, because there are many and several things that I'll need to do, and I'm not going to bore you with me wiping the dirt off. I'll come back to it. You'll understand when you see that I've done some of it, which I did actually do some of it before I started, just to make sure. Now you see the colour here, this creamy off-white colour. I have several things that I use for cleaning radios, but I also have a mixture that I concoct together myself, and I did say concoct. And if you look at the bottom of here, I've already used it, so it's really come up quite well. But that is the only sneak preview of the cleaning that you're going to see. I'm not even going to bore you with wiping the dial face and giving it a polish. The control knobs, they've got all their brights. They're not in the best of condition, but they'll be going in the ultrasonic cleaner and getting cleaned. And the handle, who knows what sort of body fluid that is all over it. But it's had a life, haven't we all? It's just, you know, I've had the fortune to have regular baths in my lifetime, in the, I won't tell you how many years old I am, but this, sadly, hasn't. It's been very neglected and very unloved. So I am going to pause it here, and I am going to give it, off camera, I am going to give it a clean and a fettle, and see what replacement parts it needs. I mean, obviously it needs this bright chrome strip here tending to, It can't be rescued. Whether that can be turned round and made good again, I'm not sure. Might have to replace it. It's the same with the bright here. The grill will need to come off and get masked and repainted. The white leather is the most obvious thing that we'd like to see again, because it's underneath. I might have to get a spade out. I'll have to go in the gardening shed and get some tools out. It is possibly the very worst cosmetic condition Roberts radio that I've had on the bench. Again, my thanks go to Mr. Christophe for sending me the challenge, and I accept. I will be back shortly after I've given the external surfaces a clean. See you soon. So here we go, I'm back, and just popping back in really. I've taken the radio out of the case, I've removed the grill and the brights, still got to remove the badge, so I might as well do that now while I'm having a mini chat, because I'm not going to be hanging about for too long. I do want to strip everything off this and get the cleaning process started. Let me just try and remove these clips off the back of the logo. There's one. I shan't be needing those again. I do have some different ones, they're quite rusty actually, and now those should push out from the inside just to remove the badge, and they are quite stuck on. There we go, so that's the badge off. Next thing I'd like to do is to remove the speaker. Again, I will do that whilst we're on here. I'll just zoom out a little bit so I'm not always looking at the camera. UD on it and see if it can start to move, but if not. Now, I've heard the speaker and the speaker seems okay. I've noticed on the back there are some solder burns. It is a plastic case speaker after all, but they do look quite historic, so I don't think that's going to be anything that's been done too recently. One other thing that I have noticed is it's got a tiny, can you pick that up, tiny pinhole in the speaker, so I'll patch that up as well and just give it a good clean. So that's that now removed. Now I'll remove the piping trim from the sides, just lift that off. What I tend to do with them, a lot of people remove the pins from underneath. You'll see what I mean in a moment. There are two pins on either side, and they are pins that are just hammered in. They remove them. I tend to just tie it up in the middle, make a nice little knot with it, wrap it round. It just saves a little bit of faff, really. I don't do faff. And here we are now with the front of the radio, well, the front of the case of the radio, in for a deep clean. So what I'm going to do is put the cleaning compound on there, which is ever so slightly abrasive. Couple that with some magic juice and just wipe it on. Let's zoom you down so you can see the filth. There we go. So all I've done is put the cleaning compound on and some of the magic juice together and just work it in everywhere, and then we're just going to leave it a few moments, come back to it and give it another go. Just make sure it stays wet. See you soon. And back once again. You can see hopefully that it's had, let me zoom you back out, it's had some time to work itself in. Another squirt of the magic juice and a cleaner piece of the cloth. And there, from the ugly duckling is born a swan. I'm really pleased that that's come up as well as it has done. It's now white. Obviously it still has its issues. It needs sticking down again in various little places. But there's the back. Obviously the bench is filthy, so it's picked up some filth from what has come off it, and it's actually on the bench. But yeah, I think it's picked it up there again. But that is now white. And welcome back. It's been a day or two actually since I've done a video on this, a little intermission whilst I got on with several other jobs that I needed to get done. But this is the Roberts Rambler from Mr. George Christophe. Now, if you remember, if you look back, it was in a bit of a state, wasn't it? But if you look at it now, and it doesn't look particularly white on the camera as I'm looking at it now, but in real life it's really quite nice. It's come up really quite well. I haven't recovered it. I haven't sprayed it or anything else like that. It's just come up really nicely with the formula that I use for cleaning. The next thing that we're going to address, oh, before we do, the handles come up really quite nice as well. I've put some new finials on the end and some new to this handle pegs, because the handle's in really quite good condition, but the ends not so much. But yeah, the handles come up nicely as well. I've put a coat of oil on each side of the cheeks. I haven't used Danish, I've used teak oil. Wasn't expensive, £2. How much is in there? 500ml, half a litre. That should last me forever and 3 days, I think. And here we are again. I've flattened the grill off. You can see it's got no paint on it at all now. And I've had a good look. Only took a couple of minutes just to get rid of the paint. Now, the aluminium has started to be eaten away, and it's almost like it's had, well, it looks like it's had little drips of gallium on there, and you know what that does to aluminium. But I'm not entirely happy. Here we are again. Here's the old one, which I can throw on one side, and here is the replacement. I cut that from an old R707, a Roberts R707. There's the bits that I cut off, and the trimming. Oh, and a tiny trimming as well, just to get it exactly the right size. So if I get those, being really careful because they're now super sharp, onto one side. All I used was a ruler to measure, scalpel blade to score, and a pair of scissors just to cut it out. That's all it was. And I haven't tried it on here yet, but that should be amazing when that's back on. Now, one thing as well is the original bright strips that go on the top and bottom of the grill are quite worn and marked, but what I did notice is the ones from the Roberts R707 that I've just pinched the grill from are actually really quite nice, and are the golden hue variety. So I'm going to give this a clean up. Again, cut it down because it's too long. Let's just zoom you out so you can see. Yep, chop it off there, and then we've got two nice replacement brights for the top and the bottom of the grill. Catch you soon. Is the grill on. Now the next bit is just to untie what we tied up earlier on. Rather than just wrap them round, I'm going to give those a clean as well. No sense in having a lovely clean radio and then the trim that you put back round being filthy dirty. That's that one. And I can see some staining on there. And then we'll wrap them back round. Zoom you back out. I might just have to prod and poke the vinyl just to get this piping back in to where it's supposed to be. That's that side. We'll have a look at it in a moment. And again, it's always this top bit that just doesn't want to sit nicely all by itself. There we go. So we've got the side trims back on. That's the next stage. Next, I'm going to... I did put some teak oil on these, but you can still see the join where the split was. Obviously the split's repaired really well. Colour in the bits that need colouring in. I'm using the lightest of them. And it doesn't look too amazing at the minute, but and then drying them off. Put some onto a small sponge or scotch or whatever you've got, really, some sort of cloth. And just give it a good coat. I use the Scotch side because I think it, I'm probably wrong, but I think it helps the oil to get into the grain a little bit quicker. And just leave that to dry. You can still see that split. It's unfortunate, but in real life it doesn't look so bad. It kind of does pick it up on the camera, and then do the other side with the Danish oil. Again, use the Scotch side to get it in there, and then the sponge just to wipe the excess away. It also leaves a smoother finish. One last go with the grain. Done the front, got the handle back on. Got another coat of Danish onto the teak cheeks. You can still see that line there, but it's not that bad in real life. In fact, in real life it looks pretty good, it's just on camera. One last thing I forgot about that obviously I need to do before I put it back together is just on the inside you have a bright like this, which is the retainer for the bottom plate. Now, the ones that came off this radio were pretty well mashed, and they'd had a bit of a hard life. I didn't have any Rambler brights for the base, so I've pinched one off another Roberts set, but obviously I'll need to cut that down a little bit. We're back. I just popped away there just to grab the vise, because I just need to flatten this out on the vise of knowledge. And the same with the other face. And just a quick look at me cleaning my knobs in the ultrasonic bath. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Look at the colour of that. That was clear when it started. Hey ho. Another 200 seconds to go and they should be clean. And welcome back once more. This should be the last one because it's complete. Here we have the Roberts Rambler that Mr. George Christophe. Do check out his channel, link in the description down there, and I'll pop his face up here somewhere at the end. He sent me this as a cosmetic challenge, and it's turned out really quite nice. It is actually white again, despite its first appearances on camera. It does look kind of creamy to me on camera, but in real life it's particularly white, what Roberts actually refer to as snow white. The teak ends are nice and clean. They've got the new brights on the end. I've put new brights on the bottom to hold the door on, given the dial face a polish, cleaned the knobs, got all the crud and paint and everything off that wasn't supposed to be there. It's done. So I guess all that's left to do is just have a listen to it now that it's been put back together. So make sure that the volume's turned down a little bit and we'll have a listen to medium flavour.
Treatment. The 11-year-old was travelling on the Tyne and Wear Metro on Tuesday evening when he was attacked. And Peaky Blind...
Want a better van with loads of extras, yeah?
Parent IAG also says significant cancellations will be made.
So there we are, it's working. There's just one more thing I'd like to show you, and I'm just going to move it out of the way first. And if I turn off the main light and then I bring it back in, there's the dial face in the dark. Isn't that a fantastic idea? So you'll still be able to tune it in at night time. That's not electronic, that's just fluorescent, luminous. And I'll turn on the main light and the secondary light and we're back to normal again. So there we are. There is the Roberts Rambler, the original Rambler, not the original one with the square buttons, but the Rambler 1 nevertheless. George has done a fantastic job with the electrical work. I've obviously seen firsthand what he's actually done inside this, and to be fair, it's incredible. It was definitely a leap further than it deserved at first glance. So yeah, electronics done by George, cosmetics done by me. Thanks very much for watching. Do check out George's channel, particularly the first video for this Roberts Rambler where George does the electronics work and makes the radio sing again. Thanks very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
01617 977 977. The Car Group, built on imagination. East Lancashire, West Yorkshire, Greater Manchester, Bradford, Huddersfield, Preston, Blackburn, Manchester, Rochdale. City by city and town by town.